Yeah, g'day, Matt Lavis. This is my 2010 Hilux extra cab. I decided to make me bullbar because you can't, I've never noted it, you can't buy like a 5-poster with a winch in it when I built the bar sort of thing, so made it a bit custom, but yeah, it's held the front end up. I've got 4-inch EFS suspension underneath with greasable shackles. I've got an air tank under there. It's made out of an old fire extinguisher, an aluminium fire extinguisher. I've got just like a remote hose here, so I can plug with my Nitto, just plug to pump up the tyres and run rattle guns and stuff like that if I have to. I've got remote 4-inch shocks under here as well with adjustable dampening, so if I carry a load of plywood or motorbikes and stuff like that, you can just get under there and just dial it up, and pretty much just makes it ride really, really well. I've put my auxiliary battery under there because I bought a dual battery setup for the front under the bonnet where they normally go, but it ended up breaking because I got a deep cycle battery. It was so heavy that it actually broke the inside out of the guard, so I welded all that up and I've mounted it underneath the back here, so it's no bigger problem. And I sort of wanted to keep as much weight off the front because the bar and the winch and all that's, so sort of spreading the weight around a little bit. What I was saying before, this is where I used to have the auxiliary battery, and I bought like basically a bracket setup that bolts in, but they obviously wasn't bolted into a really good spot like the factory brackets that they supplied, and it's actually busted out this whole wheel arch section. So I've welded it all up and I've plated it all up from underneath, and yeah, you're better off having the battery at the back. It's all too light in these new utes to have it mounted up here by the time you're going across corrugations. So yeah, anyway. This is where it all broke out. It was mounted here and there was another mount here. I've welded it all up, not worried about that hole, but this here was sort of structural, so I've sort of had to repair all that. Greasable upper control arms. They come with a 4-inch kit, basically because everything's on everything's on such an angle now, everything has to be greasable, so yeah. I've got an ARB belly guard, really good thing, they're only cheap too. For the amount of time and the work that's gone into that, it's a really good product to buy for the price. Even comes with a little transfer guard here, so you don't knock your transfer around too much. With this model ute as well, because it's the SR5s, they've got a solenoid on the front diff as well that disengages basically the front diff. It's very vulnerable to damage, so you've really got to have a belly guard on like that, otherwise you'll end up knocking that solenoid off, and I'd hate to see what that cost. I've got a diff drop kit. I can't remember who made it now, but it's a really, really solid product. You can buy different ones, but it's made out of 3/4 plate. It's a really good thing. They've got a real bad habit apparently, and I have done a few CV joints on this, doing silly stuff, but basically your right hand mount where your diff mounts on is a lot weaker on one side than the other side. So since I've put this diff drop on, I haven't had a problem. It's good. I put the checker plate around the top just because when you're loading motorbikes, stuff like that, you got your loading boards come in here and they always put dints along the top of your ute, so I did that. And if you got dogs and that jumping on the back, it just sort of saves a bit of panel damage. I've got these little tie downs that I've put in a few spots just to tie things down and all that, because Hiluxes, they don't come with enough tie down points, so they're pretty useless up the top here. So yeah. I made the 3-inch pipes come out the back. I had them originally down behind the gearbox. They just sort of a dump pipe coming off and dropped to nothing, but when you had people in the back seats, it just used to drone. So now it just sort of, yeah, it's not real noisy in the cab. It's pretty noisy out here, but that's not my drama.
Good to go.
Yeah, we've got just your GPS and DVD player and all that sort of thing there. Replaced all the speakers in the doors. They're only like 8 ohm speakers, like factory Toyota ones, and they're just not loud enough. So we've just replaced the standard speakers with a bit better aftermarket ones, tweeters and all that sort of thing. I've cut the centre console out and put a little Waco fridge in there. It's just more use than having a console just fills up full of shit. You got your rear locker and your compressor switch down here. I've put an auxiliary switch in here because I live on a steep hill and I'm always backing around to pick up trailers and stuff. As soon as you put these model utes into low range, it automatically brings the front diff in. So I've basically ran wires down and I'm basically tricking it to going into low range, but it doesn't know that it's in low range because I basically flick that switch and it basically cuts the power to the four-wheel drive switch itself. So I can use low range to back around without screwing up the lawn and having all your diffs winding up, sort of thing. Just UHF boost gauge, EGT temperature gauge. I've got a water watch set up in it, which is every new diesel really should have that because water's the worst thing for it. Electric brakes down there. I've got a 10-inch sub and that in the back there that's got an auxiliary basically voltage gauge in there, so I can just sort of look in the mirror and see if I've got an alternator issue or if the spare battery's going flat. Basically the front, the top mount intercoolers on these, if you're towing or you put that thing in front of it, it's not getting a lot of airflow through, so I've opted for a front mount intercooler. It's just a matter of cutting a hole in the firewall, the front firewall here and all that sort of thing, which it is definitely a better thing, and I can run a lot more boost now safely because basically by putting that on, even after the remap, my EGT temperature hasn't come up very much at all. The only issue you've got is normally your air conditioning condenser for your aircon is normally in front of everything. Now the intercooler's in front of that. Sometimes when you're towing, the air conditioning cuts out because it gets too hot. So I've got to get a less restrictive grill so I can get more airflow through everything. But you've only got to worry about that in summer sometimes, pulling up really long hills. Basically, yeah, the water watch setup's over there. I've got remote diff breathers for the front and the back. I got Specialised Automotive in Bega to remap it. I've got the dyno printout at home, forgot to bring it, but it's nearly doubled its torque. It really goes well. But about a week after I got that done, I had to put a clutch in it because it was, yeah, anyway, you don't mind doing that, that's all good. Because I change the oil every 5,000, because of the power upgrade, you need to keep the oil really clean. It used to take so long to get the belly guards off. It used to take longer to do that than do the actual service. So I've got a sump plug and I drilled the guts out of it, and I've put a 90-degree fitting, and I've run a remote oil drain hose from the sump. So all I do is I've got a service truck at home with a vacuum pump on it for pulling out oil. So I just clip that onto there like a female fitting clips onto there, and I can just suck the oil out, and you don't make any mess, and it's quick and effective.